Let's Talk Oculus, a VR podcast, is proudly sponsored by the good folks at Patreon. If you want to support the show, join us on patreon.com/Let's Talk Oculus. What's up, Oculus nerds? Welcome back to episode 168. I'm your host as always, I'm Dan, and I'm joined by my co-host as always, it is Samson. Samson, we're on 168 episodes. Can you believe it?
168, and to all the audio listeners, I totally nailed it with my fingers, so no mistakes on this one. 168 fingers you saw.
Yeah, that's exactly right. How you doing? How's the week been?
I'm doing pretty good, Dan. And Dan, a little treat for the video viewers, because check out this sweater I have on.
Oh, he's wearing a snowman sweater, which says "Walkabout Mini Golf." Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. That's nice. I've not seen that one on the store. I must have missed that one.
You got to scroll all the way to the bottom.
I see. Fair
There's
enough.
Three Christmas sweaters.
So even though it's Jan 7th as we're recording this, you're still rocking the Christmas sweaters.
Well, it literally just came today. I ordered it a month ago. So.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, it is, it's a VR podcast, VR swag. I think that could be worn every episode and you're absolutely fine. Get your money's worth. Yeah.
Point down my camera.
Point down the camera for the video listeners, and I'll try not to crop it. But welcome, everyone, to episode 168. It's a nice little episode because we've not got too many news stories to talk about. But
wait, Dan.
Oh, what?
How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm not too bad. I'm a bit tired, I'm not going to lie. But thanks for asking. It's been weird. It's kind of been weird because it's like we recorded the pod really late last week. So it's been
a tight one.
It's been a tight one. So it feels like it's been next to no time. Obviously, for the listeners and the viewers, it's like it's been a week. But
it's exactly the same every time.
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Very drastic. This one.
Exactly. So a bit flustered on that, but because this came around very quickly. But yeah, no, I'm not too bad. Not too bad, thanks. I'm excited for this topic, to be honest. So the topic we're going to get into later on today in this episode is going, like, obviously a lot of people like to make like New Year's resolutions or goals or vision boards or whatever you want to like kind of put together. That's what a lot of people like to do. I mean, I'm a big fan of it. I don't do a lot of that stuff, but I like definitely making like some goals for the new year. It always kind of sets me up right for the new year and such. So in this topic, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of like look at how VR can help with some of these goals, and we're going to get to a bunch of that in a moment. But also at the end of this kind of segment, we're also going to sit down with Ashley Cooper and Brady Wright, who are the duo behind the award-winning dance game Audio Trip. We actually sat down with them like a few weeks ago, just before the Christmas break, but we wanted to delay it until January. But we had a great chat about Audio Trip and how it came to be, how it is today, and the differences between Audio Trip and other different rhythm games, and how it kind of is quite unique for what it does.
And the new DLC.
And the new DLC, of course, the Above and Beyond DLC, which came out just before the end of the year as well. So we've got that at the end of the show, and Samson's been a long time coming, because I said this story a while ago, but in 2023 I went to Albania for a music festival, and I was eating breakfast. I had like a yogurt bowl, and they happened to just sat next to me. Like, they were talking to my roommate, and then I think my roommate asked them what they do for a living, and they said, "Oh, we make a VR game." And that, all of a sudden my eyes lit up, and I was like, what VR game? And then they said Audio Trip, and then we started talking for ages about it. And then I was like, hold on, I got a podcast, let's save it for that. And we've been trying to get them on for a while, but they've been so busy as well. But this is kind of like perfect, because I met them at a festival that Above and Beyond put together, and that was the DLC, which
it is quite literally the SpongeBob meme of 2 years later.
Yeah. 2 years later, and it's actually perfect timing as well. So we have that. So a lot to cover in this pod, but some housekeeping as always. If you're not in the Discord already, go join the Discord. The link is in the description below. We have had a few people join in the new year, actually. A few new people join into the Discord. So definitely come down to that. That's in the description. If you love us so much, then throw us $1 at the Patreon level, which is patreon.com/letstalkoculus. Also, if it's like $5 or more, you get the show a day early as well. And then you can also send us like a comment. We've had a few people put in Spotify comments, so you can do that in there. You've got letstalkoculus@gmail.com. You can send us email, or you can just DM us or message us in Discord or on X or whatever. All the links and all that stuff is down below as well. So Samson, before we get into our main topic,
and Dan,
yeah,
our YouTube, we're up to 513 subs, and our goal for 2025 is to get to 1K. So halfway there.
We're halfway there. It took us 2 years to get to this point, so we're going to try and half that time to try and get to the next.
That's how, lines should work for YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, if you've not already, I mean, to be honest, I looked at the last podcast that we put up for YouTube, and it did decently, but 80% of them were non-subscribers. So, what's going on?
There you have it.
If you're on YouTube, just go hit the subscribe, show the support, and comment in there as well. Samson, let's get into a couple of quick news stories. I want to talk about one which is not related to Quest, but it's related to VR itself, and I just thought it was really interesting. So the movie Wicked came out recently. I actually watched it the other day, and John M. Chu, who is the director of that film, actually used an Apple Vision Pro to edit the film. And I'm reading the quote because Upload VR posted this, and it was really good to read. So he said, "I edited Wicked remotely with my editor Maran Kirstein on Evercast, and it worked flawlessly. I was in it for hours, editing on a virtual giant screen, the size of a real movie screen, a major motion picture from the comfort of my own house, with no headache." No headache for hours. I'm not too sure about that, but fair enough.
He has a top strap, probably, like Bradley.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't tell you what revelation this was. This is Big State's cutting edge productivity work that I'm able to use today. I'm still shook. I don't think people fully realize the amount of workflow breakthroughs I think the Vision Pro will lead to. Pretty cool, Sam. So when I read that, I thought that was really cool. Could you obviously? That's what we like always envision. Like you can do so much more in VR. It's not just games. There's all the other stuff as well. And this relates to Quest as well. But then sometimes when it gets down to like productivity or stuff that's not really gaming, it can be quite tedious. There's not many apps out there and such. So to see, I know obviously it's using a $3,000 or $3,500 or whatever headset, but still, it's still cool to see that's, in industry standards, like it's still working well.
So Dan, do you know how old John Chu is?
No idea.
He's 45. It's pretty young, I feel. So
very young, yeah.
Hopefully that'll start a trend,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure Apple will probably use this story for like the later keynotes and such for future things that's possible. But yeah, I just wanted to shout that out. I thought it was quite interesting.
I assume they use what's the Apple editing for videos?
No, they use Evercast. So Evercast is I actually had to look that up.
I gotcha.
It's something that is specific for like movie industry. So like you can do stuff in the most highest resolution. It kind of works like Zoom.
Was the app designed for Vision Pro, or was it just a flat version in the Vision Pro?
It was actually, so they have a Vision Pro app. Okay. Yeah, so they have like a dedicated app for it, and it worked absolutely fine, which is amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, really cool. And then the second news story, just to quickly get past this, is just as of just a few hours ago before we hit record here, the NVIDIA it just had their announcements and such at CES, and they confirmed that the GeForce Now streaming service will be coming to Quest later this month. Basically coming to Android and a bunch of different devices. Potentially, yeah. So for those of you who don't know the GeForce Now, it's cloud streaming for games. We're talking flat screen games here, not VR games. So it's similar to the Xbox cloud streaming. And there's a few tiers that they have. So they do have a free tier, which will be which will have ads, which is kind of a weird thing when it comes to games, but they have ads. The queue time to get in is going to be longer, as if for those of you who've tried Xbox Cloud service, you have to wait and you finally get in and such. And then you're looking at 1080p, 60 frames per second, and it doesn't have any of the fancy stuff. But then if you want to pay $10 a month, you'll get the performance, which is ad free, shorter queue times, and it's in 1440p, 60 frames per second, with RTX graphics. But then if you play for the Ultimate, which is $20 a month, it's ad-free, shortest time frames, 4K, 240 frames per second, RTX graphics, frame generation, NVIDIA Reflex, Cloud G-Sync. As a non-PC gamer, I don't have a clue what any of those things mean.
Dan,
but
you got to try that and use the Patreon money for 1 month.
For 1 month, just to try it. Yeah, I might. I probably would. I didn't have a great time with the Xbox Cloud. I could never get in, and such. And then go on.
Maybe try it on your Steam Deck first, since it will work on that, and then you'll get a feel of how it should work, and then try the VR app.
There's actually, speaking of Steam Deck there's a quick segue. There's something that I was meant to try, but I've just forgotten until right now that you just mentioned. There's a Steam Link app on the Quest, obviously, and then that connects to Steam Deck, so you can play directly from your Steam Deck itself.
Oh, really? I've never tried that either.
Yeah. I saw someone on like a Facebook group for Quest or for Steam, one of them, and they showed it working and said it's really straightforward, and it just pretty much works when you load it up. So I need to try it. I have it downloaded, but I just forgot until right now. But it's
I get a question. Sorry, it's a little off topic, but have you done any nostalgia gaming on your Steam Deck, like emulators?
A little bit. I basically downloaded a few emulators and kind of got it set up for a few, and then played like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes in a few of them. But then that's it. And I've been playing like actual like newer.
Did you get PlayStation 2, GameCube, or older?
Okay. No, I went PS2, GameCube. I hit Simpsons Hit and Run, and such. And then I tried modding for the first time. So I did the Simpsons Hit and Run was a PC version. Then I modded it to make it the graphics look good and such. So it all works, and it's kind of just on the deck, and it's kind of nice. But I don't really play them, to be honest. I kind of just stick to the newer games. But it's fun.
Those are things to like show people off. Yeah, show it off to people.
Yeah, it's fun to have that. But
anyway, move right along.
The NVIDIA GeForce Now I think it's kind of a big deal for Quest, because I've heard nothing but good things about it from a lot of people who do use the service. And I think they have like a dedicated handheld, or at least they did. And obviously it's coming to more handhelds that this is available to. Have you ever tried it before? Maybe on your PC or anything like that? I mean, I know you got a PC good enough anyway.
Steam, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things. Like, this is the one streaming service that actually does really work well. But obviously, when it always comes to streaming, it really just depends, right? It really just depends. Some people just can't do it for whatever reason. But yeah, an interesting one. I'm curious if any of the listeners or viewers are very interested in this, because I tend to feel like the Quest will be cool to have like a bigger screen to play some of these flat screen games, but still not comfortable enough, I don't think, to play for a while. And also sometimes, yeah.
After this podcast ends, I am immediately going to try Steam Deck in my.
Yeah, you can report back or just text me and let me know. Okay, let's get into our main topic. Otherwise, this show's going to go on way too long. So, as I said before, let's kind of look at how the Quest can help your goals. So, you got to remember here, the Meta Quest 3 is not all about gaming. It's so much more than that. You can couple it up with the ability to use mixed reality, and then there's just more and more possibilities that you can do with the headset. So I would thought it'd be fun that we go through like achieving your goals in VR, and I've kind of broken down to a few now. Samson, you told me before the show that you use ChatGPT, and all of the topics that I've come up with has kind of been on ChatGPT. I did not use ChatGPT, but
well, I typed in what are common New Year's Eve resolutions, and it broke down into topics, and the topics were very similar to your topics. So I was like, that's.
I think they're the most common ones, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to go through fitness first, which is probably like the number one for like 90% of the people who do these things. It always is the same. Then we're going to go into new hobbies that you might want to pick up, productivity, like I will get into it in a minute. And then cognitive health, we're talking about like meditation, those kind of things, or brain health. And then also connecting with people, as well. So so these are kind of crafted from some of my own goals, and we'll talk about them as we kind of go through. But let's go through this list, and let's start off with fitness because that's the one that most people do. And Samson, I think we got to start off with Audio Trip first, as one of the apps.
And last.
And last year, because it will be the guest. But I think we got to talk about Audio Trip. It's our feature game, but also it's a great one for fitness. And Samson, you're the one you've played this quite a bit as well, right? With Audio Trip, what do you like about it for like the fitness aspect of Audio Trip?
Well, it's very similar to Synth Riders in that it gets you moving and grooving.
Yeah,
you're moving your whole body. You gotta hit notes, so you gotta move your hands into certain locations. If you're playing on any level not beginner, you're gonna have to squat, duck, dive, duck and dive.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're gonna be doing squats, and depending how fast you're going or whatever level you're playing this game at, you're going to be burning some calories there. And the new DLC, which offers a 30-minute, like all the tracks in one, so you're doing 30 minutes a song continuously. Your heart rate's
going to be racing. I do like the fact in Audio Trip that it's. I say this in the guest part of the episode, but it does feel like this isn't it technically is a rhythm game, but it's more of a dance game. I'd compare this more to like a Just Dance in a way, or such, because it kind of the moves feel like more like normal or flowy dance moves, and so they're so flowy, but like normal dance moves. And there is actually it's actually really good for fitness because they actually tailor it for fitness, because you've got the levels like for lack of a better term, like easy, medium, hard, for example. But then they also have the cardio aspect of it as well, which is more just like you require a little bit more space because some of the movements are a little more, they're a little more, it's not like they're hard movements or anything
grander
like that.
Movements.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to look for, where you've got stuff like, think of something like a Beat Saber. People are like, I can, do fitness and Beat Saber. And you could, but also a lot of people do Beat Saber just to try and get high scores and then keep their arms real close and such like that, where Audio Trip encourages the opposite, because that's going to get you burning more calories and such. So that's what I really like about Audio Trip. It does really fit in my library of games, and I would definitely recommend it as one. And I also love the music in there as well. There's a lot of good tracks in there. There's a great UI interface as well, to try and go through the tracks itself. And it's really well laid out. And there's a campaign mode too, so similar to Beat Saber actually, that has like a bit of a campaign mode, which kind of just encourages you to go through all the different kind of songs and kind of help you just give you a good starter to kind of go through. That's true. It's old in Beat Saber, but so they have that as well. So Audio Trip is one really good for it.
They also have a lot of custom tracks, and you can actually make the custom tracks in game in their in-game custom track builder.
That's true. That's true. Not for me, because I don't think I'm one to go for and create the songs, but love to see the everyone else's creations and kind of add it to my own library itself. But yeah, really solid audio trip. Samson, anything that you want to shout out for fitness wise?
Well, I'll move on to Synth Riders, I suppose, because it's been my go-to for a few years. It's a rhythm game split up into many different albums. Now they have tens of DLCs, I feel.
They have loads, yeah.
Loads. Lindsey Sterling.
They got two Lindsey Sterlings now, right? Is that?
I don't think so. But she did show up on, I think, maybe one other.
Okay,
it's hard for me to remember because she's also in a bunch of custom tracks, which there are thousands of, quite literally.
And you do have, like, I'm not sure how big your Synth Riders file is, but it's
huge.
It's huge. Yeah.
Many use. Huge. Many use huge. But yeah, it's fantastic. And I remember I got it. I started on normal, many months of normal. Eventually worked way up to expert, master, and now 2-3 times master.
Yeah, which is mental. I've tried to do some of the songs. If you just try and go straight into it, you have no idea what's happening. Everything comes at you so fast. But yeah, you're on the leaderboard for a few of those as well. But I remember when we first did this show, like a good 2.5 years ago or whatever, I think you played almost every day, pretty much every day.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because you were like in your basement and such, and you were just every single day just kind of going for it. And it makes a big difference, like fitness wise, right? Like it makes a big difference. And that one, obviously, Synthesizer is a bit different to Audio Trip, where it kind of looks similar, but it is a bit different in terms of the movements they have. Yeah. But so this one's not as dancey, but it's still good for long movements and such. And
some people like to play. I like to play the rhythm mode, which is where you gotta try and hit the center of the note. And but there's like the more flowy mode. I forget what it's called now, but you gotta swing. You get more points if you're moving through the note. So it's a more dancey mode, if you will. I do not like it.
Fair enough. And I also want to we move on past Synth Riders. Just want to, obviously you've got the dedicated fitness apps like Supernatural if you're in North America, but if you can try and sort out a VPN, you can actually get it, but that's a different episode. FitXR is the number one fitness app on Quest, actually, on the leaderboards.
Number one.
Yeah, it is. It was number one over the Christmas break, but that's probably because it's available worldwide, right? Where Supernatural's only North America. So
makes sense.
Yeah, FedExR's worldwide number one, and it's a good app too. It's very similar to Supernatural, but with obviously subtle differences. And the one I wanted to point out there is Les Mills Body Combat. Those first two have subscriptions. And you might not be into that. I mean, if you are in North America, Supernatural is only $10 a month, and it is pretty cheap. I would say it's worth that money, to be honest. But then that ends up being
if you're using it.
Yeah, exactly. But Les Mills Body Combat is like $25 or $30 or something like that, and it's just a one-off. And
it does have DLCs as well.
It does, yeah, and
one-off DLCs, if you will.
Yeah, it does, but it also has it has mixed reality in there. It has like a bunch of features. It's mostly like boxing-ish kind of based, but I always find it a really, really good workout as well.
Inferno is a big fan of Les Mills, I believe.
Yeah, Inferno in the Discord for sure. Yeah, I think Les Mills is fantastic. So if you're looking for like some of the ones that we're gonna, we just went through a couple of rhythm games there, but if you're looking for like a dedicated fitness app, the reason why these are good is because they have habit trackers in there and such, and like how many times you logged in and all that stuff, which is really nice. It feels like you're going to an actual gym in a way, because it has, you go in and you go, oh, welcome back. You're in for the next class. Here's your playlist.
Les Mills will have your friends on the leaderboards, and it gives the feeling of multiplayer, even though it's not. It's like what do they call it? Asynchronous multiplayer.
Yeah, FitXR does that too. Supernatural has leaderboards, but I think it's been a while since I've been in Supernatural, but I don't,
I
they
thought
didn't
they
have
added
it.
like same room or something like that.
Yeah,
But
I'm not
I
sure
don't
if
know.
it's been added or it's coming to
Yeah.
kind of do this similar thing. I like if you are in North America, I do really like Supernatural's app on your phone because it can connect to your Apple Watch if you have one or a smartwatch and such. So you can have your heart rate tracking in there, and also it's really good to like give you like a after you finish the workout, it gives you a little breakdown and it encourages you to take a screenshot of yourself so you can do that and then
Yeah, the
post it and
selfie.
such and share it and whatnot. And it has like its own feed with other people and such. So I actually, out of all of them, if you are in North America, Supernatural's definitely the one for me just because of that aspect to it as well. But all I've tried all three of them, and all three of these are good. And then obviously, there's so many more out there in terms of like dedicated fitness ones. But you know, those are the big three, right?
Dan, another one I particularly like is Pistol Whip, which
Mm.
gets you doing the squats and just ducking, dodging all those bullets. If you're playing anything above normal mode, really, I feel like you're even normal mode probably after a few songs, you're gonna start feeling it. I struggle with stairs oftentimes after playing this game. Um,
Fair
it's
enough.
it's a good one, and just it does have a wide variety of music now genres.
It
That is,
does. So,
so it's a good one. Pistol Whip.
some songs really aggressive, some are not. But yeah, I think that was a good session. I actually forgot about that one when I was writing this list because it's one game that I haven't played for a while. But when you go into it, it's this is probably out of the games we've listed so far, the most game like because it is more of a game than anything.
Yeah,
But it's so much fun as well. There's like campaigns in there with different storylines. There's different varieties. Like there's so much customization where you can have like one gun, two guns, or a shotgun or anything like that. But the ones I really like, and it's really good for fitness as well, are the ones that are just melee only. So you lose your gun and you just have to punch your way
a
through
lot
and
of
try and
dodging.
lot of dodging, a lot of diving. And I remember I used to play with my bed right in front of me, which would always be helpful because sometimes I'd fall forward and my bed would catch me and such. So yeah, I think that's a really good one. Pistol Whip's like very similar to Pistol Whip in a way is actually Action Hero, which I talked about in December. I wouldn't recommend this for fitness, but it is like it does get you sweating, dodging and diving, trying to do all that. I wouldn't recommend it for fitness because it is very stop start, but it's it actually kind of gives you the same kind of feel. The same kind of feel there. But Samson, let's talk about some maybe non-fitness or rhythm games itself. And the one I want to start off with here is Batman: Arkham Shadow. You know,
It's a
they
good
have
one.
they have the combat challenges in there. And there's a ton of them now, and there's more coming this month and such. And the combat challenges is solely you're in this arena and you've got all the goons and you have to fight them and you're trying to do combos and such. And it gets, I mean, Samson, you played Batman, you know exactly what the combat's like. It gets
Sweaty.
sweaty. It gets sweaty. And you could use that as fitness. Playing that game, even though it's technically not a fitness game, but you can use that. And, like you said, Samson, in the last show, always stretch. As to like any VR newbies, always stretch beforehand and maybe afterhand too.
After, yeah.
Yeah, and just be a bit careful. Limber self up before you get into it. But yeah, Batman Arkham Shadow combat challenges for me. Anything else, Samson? You?
Yeah. I've got a few more here. I'm going to go with Underdog because this is one that always had me sweating because it was like a
Yeah.
boxing game, right? You're just brawling. You're moving with your arms and you're having to box all of these, robots. So Underdogs, that's
Fun.
just such a good game too. So
So
get
much
in there.
fun. Yeah, I would say
I
Underdog
got to
is
get back in there.
Underdog is like Gorn was really fun in terms of like having that arena and such, but I think Underdog just perfects that formula in terms of
Underdogs is so much better than Gorn.
I agree. No, I agree. But like Gorn was like the first, like the arena one that kind of like, oh, this is kind of
Open the
fun, and you,
door.
yeah, open the door, and then Underdog, I think just perfects that formula. And I've not hit the walls as much as Underdog, but still gone a bit crazy when it comes to it. But yeah, I need to get back into it too. Great game. Great game. Also, one that I forgot to mention, which is actually more of a fitness in a way, but Thrill of the Fight. This one I would say is like it's technically like a fitness game because it's obviously boxing, but because you're fighting other fighters and it's so much fun. The rounds, it kind of like it's got Wii boxing, but then takes it to a whole new level. And I get so sweaty in here. It's like
Dan,
so much.
when I took on Squashy in this, we did 2 3-round boxing matches. I don't think I would have been able to play a third, and I was sore the next day.
There we go. Yeah.
And that's the issue. Also, is I just feel like I overextend.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't know how to box, Dan.
Yeah.
I'm a nerd, so I'm just out there, just like flailing my arms, and I'm hurting myself.
Yeah. You got to be careful.
But it's fun. It is fun.
Don't overextend your arms, and if definitely don't go on to my Thrill of the Fight YouTube video that I posted if you want to see how to box. Like, not throw a punch. I'm been doing some kickboxing recently in real life, and I'm learning how to punch, and I did not know what I was doing before. I did not know what I was doing before. Another one on that, though, just to go on to that, if you want more of a gamey game, then Creed is a good one. Creed was one of those ones that, once again, if you look at that YouTube video that I posted out maybe 2.5, 3 years ago, which is Thrill of the Fight versus Creed. Thrill of the Fight was better by absolute miles, but Creed has had so many updates recently. And the last time I tried it, I think I re-reviewed it as well on the YouTube channel, and it was really good. So I would recommend, if you're Thrill of the Fight's like great if you just want to just do the fights, and it's a fantastic game, and it's super cheap as well. It's just less than $10. But if you want one which is more of like an actual like boxing game that you would have maybe on the PlayStation or something like that, then Creed is a great idea too. Really fun. You can't really go wrong with both.
There's also Thrill of the Fight 2 now, which is just multiplayer, but it'll come with eventually. Yeah,
just multiplayer, for sure. Any other suggestions, Samson, before we move categories?
Yep, I got Grab, which is great platformer game that I love, dear to my heart. And we had the developer on a few months back, Slime Dev, and Knock, which I'm going to shout out because Noble Squashy from the show, big fan of Knock. Let me tell you, I watched some of these players play Knock, and it's a lot of moving.
Knock is the one that's like a bow and arrow meets Rocket League, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That's cool. And also, just before we finish off this category of fitness, just want to give out a shout out to Shardfall Fit Quest, which is the game that I was anticipating this January. I'm pretty sure the game was meant to come out later on this month, but according to Upload VR, it's already out. But they posted their review of it as of recording today, and it was great review, like really, really good review, like very positive. Now, it was a sponsored review, bearing in mind, but a really good review, and it really shows you in that review, if you read it, it feels like one of those kind of Wii Fit kind of feel where it's like it's more of a game, but then it's also exactly. The art style and such, it looks really cool to me. I can't wait to check this out. Apparently it's out today, but I didn't see that before, so maybe they got that wrong. But when it comes out anyway this month, I will definitely try it and let you all know. So, Samson, the fitness goal, everyone kind of has a fitness goal. Most people do always do those, no matter where you are in your fitness journey. But new hobbies is something that some people like to embark on, and such. Do you have any new hobby goals at all? Bit of piano vision, maybe?
You just put me on the spot here.
I was trying to tee you up with a bit of piano vision, but...
No. Well, I've been playing if anything, I've been learning the trombone.
Yeah, there we go. I don't know if the trombone relates to an actual trombone, but...
I kind of want a harmonica game. Move the controllers back and forth.
You just need one controller, no?
Sure.
The harmonica's not that big. You need
I
two
mean, if you
hands.
want to get real into it,
Oh,
yeah.
I see. You're thinking trombone champ, where you can use both arms and such to.
Well, you need you can, two hands could move it, but yeah, I guess
That's true.
you could do a one hander.
That's true. That's true. But anyway, Sounds. Tell me, like, one of the hobbies could be music and could be piano vision, and something that you are really getting into recently. As you pause,
What have I really been getting into recently?
piano vision. I'm trying to tee you up.
Oh. Well, because I haven't gotten into it since we already talked about it last week. I haven't gotten back into it.
We did. Always.
Yeah, I did get into it earlier this week. Piano vision. It does teach you how to play piano, and it's very hard.
Yeah,
not good.
But is it like
I have small, stubby fingers.
It's not the guitar, Samson. This is piano.
I know, and you need long, narrow fingers.
For
I have
piano?
short, stubby ones. Yes, so you can touch the keys, Dan.
Yeah, fair enough. You need to stretch. Yeah, fair enough. It's like, how does piano vision work in terms of like the levels? Like, is there just beginner songs and that you can just play and such, or is there kind of like a progression? Is there any like progression in there, or is it just here's a bunch of songs and you get to pick the beginner and kind of learn that song, or does it like guide you?
You can choose to be guided. There's like, you can go through like the tutorial songs and all that jazz.
Fair enough. Okay, because I was thinking like I didn't know, because I went into it when the Quest 2 first came out and I just did it on the table just to see what it was like, but I didn't know if it was like a full on, like not campaign, but like something to guide you, or it was.
I mean, you can do like you learn like the scales and all that jazz. I think.
Nice. Because sticking on music, you've got a couple of DJ apps in there. You've got Tribe XR, which is
yeah.
Tribe XR is something that I've tried myself. We did have a guest from Tribe XR come on a really early episode of this show as well, back in the single digits or the small double digit days. But Tribe XR is a really good one if you want to learn how to DJ, because you can import your own songs into there, but they also have like a bunch of their own songs, and there's like a tutorial person in there which kind of shows you how to play, and it's cool the way they do it. So you have like the full DJ decks, and if you know anything about DJ, the Pioneer CDJ 2000s, I believe they're called, are like the one that everyone kind of uses them, and as like the main one. But you have that in there, but you can make it 4 decks or 2 decks or such. But then there's a guy who's like, who's the main DJ, and he kind of shows you, and then you take over and he shows you, and he's just like basically in the same kind of where you are in terms of the same perspective. So he's showing you like hands-on right there, while instead of you like trying to learn and watching like a YouTube video or something like that, like he's showing you right there. And also because they have like the models of the best decks that people can buy, like you don't have to fork out $2,000 to get those kind of specific decks, which is really, really cool. So that
the stuff in real life would be impossibly expensive for most people.
Exactly right. And they have a bunch of good tutorials on their website, on their YouTube channel. They have a good like community as well to learn from. DJ's a new one which I actually haven't tried, but I have actually tried DJ on the iPhone, or on an iPad, like a few years ago when it was on there. And so I'm assuming it's very different because it's obviously in VR. But the cool thing about the DJ one, and I'm not sure if Tribe has done this yet. I haven't actually checked, but you can actually stream from different services. So Spotify's not in there, which is probably the one that most people use, but Apple Music's on there, Tidal's in there if you use that one. And there's a few others as well. So I actually have Apple Music, so I should probably try this. But you can obviously just use songs that you stream and use that to kind of DJ, which is really cool, because that's one of the hardest parts is getting the songs, because everyone streams nowadays rather than actually buys or downloads them itself. So that's one that you can definitely use. And then Audio Trip as well for music, because the dancing aspect. But we've already talked about that. Dan,
our Tribe XR was episode 24, and you tweeted about it November 9th, 2021.
Well, that's a long, long time ago. I was probably wearing glasses at that time, but that was a long time ago. Samson, there's another hobby there for art. That people want to get into art. What
Well,
what kind of apps
Dan,
do we have?
there are a good amount of art apps on the Quest. We're a big fan of Pencil here, which is a drawing app where you set up a controller over a piece of paper, and you have a real piece of paper there, and your real pencil, and you can choose. Essentially, you have objects that you can pick through, and then you can place them in certain lighting, change their size, their rotation, and then it will give you an outline of how to draw it. And you can change the opacity so you can make it lighter, darker, have more lines or fewer. And it's pretty good, drawing app.
Yeah,
That gets
we
you
had them on
some
the
stuff.
we had them on the show as well at some point last year, and yeah, if you want to find that out, Samsung. But yeah, really good app because a lot of these VR ones that you just do things in 3D space, but with pencil you actually do it on real paper or real I had to source pencils and a paper for this because I don't really have those things anymore in the house. But yeah, a really good one.
Episode
Go on.
139.
Episode 139. I believe it's free as well, right? Pencil?
No.
No, it's not free. Okay, maybe it used to be. Yeah, it's $12. It's $12 in early access on the Quest Store itself, and I would highly recommend you download it because that you'll get you drawing Leo at the start, which is their like a mascot, and you can draw it really quickly because it's more like tracing Leo, but it's fun where when you obviously you can see the paper in the VR headset, but as soon as you take off the VR headset and you realize that this is not virtual anymore, this is actual real thing. It's really
Pretty
cool.
cool.
Yeah, really cool. How about Vermilion? Samson?
It's a pretty good painting app, Dan. I and kids can do it apparently because I've put a 5-year-old in it. I'm not too great at painting though myself, but for those who I know, friend of the show Kim, big fan of Vermilion. It works well with mixed reality. I have put my mom in it, and she like understood what was going on too, and she doesn't
Cool.
ever VR really. So yeah, Vermilion, and it's another one where you can have YouTube going, and you can have
Bob
overlay and all that jazz.
Yeah, you can have Bob Ross going, and you can try and replicate what he does. This is another one. It's one of those things that we'll get into a couple more in a second, but that you really like. You can do this in real life, but obviously you have to pay for all of the stuff and get all the materials. Where you can just do it in Vermilion, and you can do it in VR or mixed reality, as you mentioned. And the mixed reality is really cool. It's really nice
Dan,
to do that.
I forgot to say, yeah. Now that you mention it, you can put up your paintings around your place. I believe. I think that's the thing.
Yeah, I think you can. Yeah, I can't remember, but I think you can. And you can do paint by numbers if you're into that and you just want like some more of like a relaxing kind of time. This would be more of our cognitive health kind of aspect of it. But another one in there is Kingspray Graffiti. This is an old app. I've actually never used this. Have you ever played this, Samson? Kingspray?
Like years ago, but
Yeah.
I have not hopped in recently.
No, but it's one of those. If you've never thought like you want to try graffiti instead of buying all these expensive paint cans and such, then you can do it in VR, and it's got really good reviews. I think a lot of people are wanting updates, all the recent reviews, because I think it's been updated for a while, but it's still highly rated, even people who review it now. So that's another one, and then OpenBrush if you want to try like doing 3D art like in VR, so just doing it in space. That's a really cool one too. Samson, one of your goals for this year to learn a language?
No.
Okay, so these ones are not for you, but Immerse seems like the most popular one for language learning. I've actually not heard of this one. It was only when I was doing the research for this episode. But Immerse has got like the most ratings and such, and very well like reviewed when I was reading some of the reviews. Nountown and Monly VR are the two that I've actually tried. They're okay.
Really?
Yeah, I've tried both of them. They're okay. Nountown is, I think they just got a mixed reality update, but you know,
It's a great name, Nountown.
it's a great name. Yeah, great name, Nountown. But I mean, I don't think I'm going to commit to learning a
How much is
language.
Nountown?
It's not that much, like $20, I think, something like that. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, $20. Yeah, it's okay.
This is on Steam too, yeah.
Monly VR wasn't that great when I first tried it as well, but yeah, I'm curious to try Immerse, but at the same time, I don't think I can commit to a learning language this year in my goals. But yeah, it's been quite big, and also they with Immerse itself, they kind of post it for education in terms of like students and schools, and they've got like a whole program in there for corporate learning as well. So it's like bigger than just the VR aspect of it, of just like a standard consumer and such. So yeah, check out Mus if you're into that. Sam, did you have another suggestion?
Dan, I don't have any other hobbies, but let's talk about a little bit because there's people out there who use VR for productivity. Believe it or not, it's not you or I, but there are people out there.
It is me. It is me. Excuse me. It is me. I'm going to say I'm a big fan of Immersed. So one of my goals is to kind of change my career, and I'm learning software development. I've kind of spoken about it once or twice on the show before, and I've not done it recently, but a lot of times last year when I was learning the course, because thing is, I also work from home, so sometimes I don't like to just be on the same desk and such.
You
but
don't move.
yeah, so like if I go somewhere like the living room and such, I only have a 13-inch laptop, and it's not great to do my course. Like it's okay. I'm using Code Academy, which kind of has everything on one page, and it works okay. But when I'm trying to like do my own kind of project outside of that, I really would benefit from two screens, or at least like a bigger laptop screen itself. And that's where Immersed comes in. And it's not perfect. It's definitely finicky. But it's better than Meta's workrooms from what I've used before. And it allows you to have unlimited monitors, but I normally have one. I normally have two, maybe three. So I have like one big one in the middle, which is like the main part of my like course or what I'm doing. And then on the left hand side, I'll probably have like a vertical monitor with maybe another page of the code or something like that. And on the right, I would have like a tutorial or so going on. And the cool thing about it is that you can do it in mixed reality, and it works really well. But you can also do it in VR and kind of put yourself in different scenarios. So there's a scenario that you can be in the coffee shop, and you just have like there's some like coffee shop music playing in the background.
Is it a specific one? Is it classy like Starbucks, or is it more of a Dunkin'?
We don't have Dunkins over here, so I don't know.
All right, sorry, what's it?
Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons. There we go.
No, it's more of like a classier establishment, shall we say, when it comes to a coffee shop. Something like in Manhattan or something like that. You know, that's not a chain. That kind of place. But it's nice. It's really cool. It works well. So I haven't done it recently because I haven't done many projects recently. It's been mostly just course. So I've been okay if I was just on my laptop and such, but that's definitely one that I would use. But Samson, I didn't realize this until I was researching for this episode, but a lot of people do that with virtual desktop as well. And I always thought virtual desktop is more just for like PC streaming, more for PC VR streaming onto your headset and such. And I know that's what obviously you use it a lot for, but a lot of people also use it on their Mac for like productivity,
seeing the screen.
Yeah, so I'm actually, because Immerse does have a lot of like bugs sometimes, and it does get quite annoying, especially when you're trying to like just navigate, and the hand tracking for some reason in Immerse sometimes isn't good. Maybe they're like prioritizing their own like hardware now and such, but I think I'm going to download Virtual Desktop and try that, because I saw some good reviews that it works well on the Mac. So that's another one.
Oh boy,
that's another one. But
then finally there's Gravity Sketch, Dan. So if you're into anything 3D, object-oriented, things like that, it's pretty good. I believe people, you could 3D print objects from there.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about it with the walkabout
Yeah, they
devs
model
that
there.
they use. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Very good. Okay, let's move on to cognitive health. So we're talking brain health. Meditation wise, like there's a few meditation apps that I've kind of tried, but Trip VR seems to be the one that's always the best. D-Max, which is a friend of the show, he's big into this, and he's kind of said Trip is the one that he really likes the most as well. I hope I'm not paraphrasing him, but I'm pretty sure that's what he told me last time when I spoke to him.
He's going to be so mad at you.
Pretty sure that's what he said last time when I spoke to him. But so something like that if you're interested. But Samson, I was always thinking about meditation's obviously one thing, and whether or not you like to do it in the VR headset or not, that's a different conversation. But some of these games that we have are really good for your brain health, like brain training in a way. And I think a bunch of them are the ones
puzzlers.
something that you would like to play. So you want to name a couple that you love to play?
It. I love good brain tease. I love good jigsaw puzzle. Oh, puzzle, did you say? Puzzle, I did say, because Puzzling in Places is a great puzzling game.
Yeah.
Lots, then DLCs, monthly pretty much, special DLCs here and there. Great game. And a solid amount of base puzzles, too. But unfortunately, both people do have to own the puzzles if you want to play multiplayer with a DLC puzzle. Anyway.
That's fair. That's a shame that it's not like puzzling. Guest Pass, but then I guess once you do it once, you're not going to play it again, most likely. Unlike Walkabout, where fair enough.
I don't know the intricacies, but Cubism's another one that is like I still haven't beaten Cubism fully. It's an endless game for me, Dan, and it truly is an endless game because there are custom puzzles that I've never even tried because I can't beat the ones in the game anyway. So
I find Cubism really difficult for some reason. I think my brain just does not agree with it. It's
very hard.
Yeah,
I can get to a certain point, and then it's just like, all right, I can no longer visualize.
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, I find Cubism very hard, but it's also a very beautiful, relaxing kind of game to do in mixed reality as well. Like all the two of those games that we just mentioned in mixed reality. Another one is Squingle, which we've talked about at length recently with the podcast in November.
And Dan, Squingle, they sent me a box, and I still haven't opened it yet. Thank you, Mr. Tess. I will be opening it. I just want to record myself opening it, so it's still in the box, and I've been waiting for after the holidays.
Very cool.
Hopefully this weekend I will be opening my Squingle box.
Ooh, I wonder what's in there. Is it a little Squingle?
It's a Squingle.
I'm curious. But yeah, Squingle's a really good one. As we talked about it at length when we had the guest episode in November, but it really gets you in the flow state and really helps you focus and such. Really plays with your senses, and yeah, just one that I would definitely recommend if you want to just relax and kind of tease the brain in a way. And then Samson, you want to round it off with one that you really like?
Yeah. Do 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 do. Anyway, it's Tetris Effect, Dan, and Tetris Effect also. Well, first of all, it's a great Tetris game. Great, you just zen out, plays music. It's so incredible if you like Tetris. If you don't like Tetris, you probably will not like this one. However, let me link it because not only is it a single player game, Dan, you can play this game multiplayer with up to 2 other friends at the same time, which is another way to connect with people, which is our next topic.
Before we do that, though, I love the segue. I just want to shout out Kimberly, friend of the show and longtime patron of the show, who finished Tetris Effect last year, which is very impressive because
it is impressive.
I keep getting stuck at like level 2 or 3, and I not got back to it since.
I beat it on one of the, but I haven't beat it on expert. I beat it on, I think, beginner and normal.
Nice. A lot of variation when it comes to Tetris Effect too. A lot of people think it's just going to be the same old, but there's so much variation in some of the Tetris puzzles that you get, and also the visuals and such are amazing. Another one that kind of plays with your mind in a way, or senses, shall we say. Okay, yeah, Samson, let's do the final one, which is connecting with people, which is obviously always a goal for a lot of people to connect more. VR is a perfect thing for this, especially if you're far away from other people. You know, I use it quite a lot for that, for example, just with one relative, with my uncle, who's the only other person who has a Quest, but still, it's something that I use. He's 7,000 kilometers away in a different country, different continent. So we play a lot of walkabout mini golf. So a lot like group games you could go with. Like walkabout mini golf is a really good one. I think Samson, you love a real VR fishing, right? That's another one that you can sit and relax and just fish. Yeah, just
and a very, very, very beautiful scenic.
Yeah, itself. But just kind of going on to some mixed reality games here. We've talked about these at length: Chess Club, Miracle Pool, Racket Club. These are all really good apps that you can play with other people. And
11 table tennis as well.
Yeah, another really good one, which is a good one to connect, because it's one of those games that all of these games, obviously there's a lot of co-op games out there and such, but these are games that a lot of people like to keep going back to, with, you know, keep playing with the same person or something, like, oh, do you fancy a game of this, or something like that. So that's definitely one. But Samson, you're into a lot of co-op games, right? What are some that you'd recommend here?
Well, Dan, there's Dungeons of Eternity, fantastic co-op game, which is actually now double co-op. That is to say, you could play 4-player.
Oh, cool.
1 to 4 players. Yep. Pretty incredible. Then there's Demeo and Demeo Battles, also all 1 to 4 players. There's Ancient Dungeon, 1 to 4 players, Dan. There's Into Black, which is, I think, 1 to 3 players. Which was, I only got into the very beginning of that, but very popular amongst many of my friends. Okay. And there's Hellsweeper VR, which friend of the show, Amelia, is a huge fan of, which I believe is 1 to 3 players. It's very possible they added 4 player, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, fair enough. And then, without moving past games, I think the one media app that really sticks out is Big Screen, is watching movies. And I remember this stopped working for me last year, but then now I've moved to a different city and I have a different place altogether. I should definitely test it out again, because you know, I always had the black screen. So yeah, I should test that out so we can try and organize some Discord.
I got to bring back my FMV night, because FMV was one of my most popular gaming genres on Steam last year because of big screen
nights. Another good one to connect with people, actually. But yeah, big screen's a great one. I think there's a lot of good media apps on the Quest now, but this is a good one as a community. You know, I still remember that time, you know, I think a couple of years ago, where we played the Jackbox games in there, which was a good fun time. And like, there's a lot more you can do in there that just watch a movie and such, and just kind of hang out and such. So yeah, big screen is the one.
There's also VR chat and Horizon Worlds if you're into a very, very social app.
Incredibly social, yeah. If you want to go on the social extremes. But yeah, there we go. So there's, like, you know, we spent a good hour there we went through fitness, new hobbies, productivity, cognitive health, and connecting with people. A lot of suggestions there. So if you want to share what your goals are, or if you want to share like one or so, go ahead, give us the comments. It's always good to see what other people are doing, and it kind of inspires a lot of people as well. You don't have to. If you want to keep that stuff private, that's absolutely fine. But if you want to, feel free. But that will wrap up this mega part 1. In part 2, we're going to do a very short part 2 before we get into the interview with Ashley Cooper and Brady Wright. So we'll see you in part 2.
Hey, we know public lobbies in VR games can be a bit toxic, feel a bit empty at times. That's why we created the Let's Talk Oculus Discord, a friendly community that you can join for multiplayer meetups, general VR chat, the game, and chat about VR, fitness motivation, and there's even a very impressive 3D printing channel. Join over 100 of our community members in the Let's Talk Oculus Discord for free. The link is right in the description.
All right, welcome back to a very short part 2, where we're going to go through what we've been playing in games out this week. The reason why I say very short, Samsung, is because I haven't played anything. I have not played anything. Like I said, we've had a very short turnaround since the last podcast, and I've just not had time. So I have not played anything. But Samson, have you been able to get into anything at all?
Well, then Friday night happened, so I got onto Breachers, and I was wearing my B Haptics vest,
nice.
Which is the old model. There is a new model, new suit available. They got some great bundles. It looks hot. It looks fresh, that new one.
It does,
but
yeah.
I do love my old one. It's worked gloriously. And then, Dan, I mentioned in the meta sale, I picked up the game Taiko Frenzy.
Yeah.
Now, Taiko Frenzy, if you don't remember, is a percussion rhythm game set in a stunning, colorful scenery, where you can immerse yourself in fantasy world inspired by Japanese folklore with original soundtracks exclusively composed for the game. So it's a lot of Japanese traditional sounding music. I played 4 tracks, I think. There's 2 notes coming at you at any given time, and you have a drum in front of you. The drum is split into 2 halves, or essentially you have a right and left drumstick, if you will.
Yeah.
So you have to hit it with either your left or right drumstick, and then on the edge you have to you can clank the side of the drum.
Oh, cool. So
you either have to hit the drum with your right or left, or clank with your right or left. And it honestly, it gets pretty. I was only playing normal, Dan. I was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to get kind of used to this game. But if you're into this type of music, then there are a few custom tracks too that were just like available there. But yeah, if you're into the Japanese chill music,
I was about to say very soothing.
Games,
it could be a very soothing game itself, and a beautiful art style as well.
Precisely.
Like,
but if you're looking for a very fast rhythm game with modern music, this you're not going to want to look this way. You're going to want to look the other way.
You can also create your own songs as well. You have to do this on the computer, but you can actually create and map, and like you said, there's a whole community songs browser and such. And this looks really cool. Looks really nice. So you got this on the sale. Can you remember how much you paid on the sale? I think it's like $12 right now, but
no, I can't remember how much I paid.
That's fair. Let's just say you got it for less than 10. Less than 10.
I do believe it was less than 10.
Fair enough. That looks really cool, actually. What was that called? Taiko Frenzy?
I believe so, yeah. Taiko, Taiko.
Very nice. One game out this week. The one that's really exciting, actually. It's called Human Within. And if you obviously listened to last week's episode where we talked about what we're anticipating for January, this is one of them. So let's go in. Cyber engineer Nyla and her sister Lynn developed a way to harness the immense processing power of a human brain to create the ultimate supercomputer. Employed by Ford Industries, they managed to transfer human consciousness to the digital space. But after trying to back out of the project, things took an unexpected turn. Held against her will, Nyla finds herself in a situation and forces her to use the technology in the way she feared it would be. Human Within combines an original branching storyline with video game playability. Its unique blend of storytelling and gameplay offers players a one-of-a-kind interactive experience. And if you don't know from that, it basically has real cutscenes and such, but then like a kind of a VR/mixed reality game. I can't really tell from the trailer, but this is one that I'm going to pick up this week.
Really?
And yeah, I want to pick this one up. So I'll talk about it next week on the show for sure. But it just looks so unique. It's like, I think it's like $18 at the moment.
Yeah, it does look really cool.
Yeah, it looks really, really cool. So
it's kind of like up my alley of like the movie experience type of game.
the FMV and such. Yeah, judging from the trailer, the actual VR aspect or the the gameplay aspect looks pretty awful. And I'm not going to lie. I'm looking at the trailer and the screenshots, and it looks very basic and awful. But obviously, these are just screenshots. I have no idea what's actually happening. It seems like some of the cutscenes are in like a 2D TV in a way, but some of them are like full 360 as well. So it's just so different, and it's a puzzle game in a way as well, a story puzzle game. And yeah, like I said, it's around $18 US, and I think it's worth trying. So I'm gonna at least I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna play a bunch of it over the weekend. I don't know how long it is. I got a feeling that it's going to be a short experience, to be honest.
A few hours.
I was thinking even less than. I think it'd be 2 hours or less, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I'm thinking like that, but I could be completely wrong. Just because it's like with all the real cutscenes and such, I feel like 2 hours might be enough, But I don't know. We'll see. But I'm gonna pick this one up, and I'll talk about it next week. With human within. And I also think next week we get to talk about the Elvis course for Walkabout as well.
Yes.
That's also next week.
Which I got into this week also, but obviously we could not talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the two things that we'll talk about next week, amongst other things. But Samson, that will do for this podcast. As if you're on the video watchers, Samson had a massive sneeze there.
Yeah, that was a big one. That was a double.
That was a big one there. But stick around. Obviously, part 3, we're going to have the interview with Ashley Cooper and Brady Wright, the two behind Audio Trip, which was a really, really fun and really good discussion about the game. And they're two really lovely people, and it really shows. So enjoy that interview, and we will see you next week for another episode of Let's Talk Oculus.
I'm still Sam.
Let's Talk Oculus is available on all good podcast platforms and some rubbish ones as well. If you want to see the video version, it's available on YouTube and Spotify. And also, if you love us so much, then consider throwing us $1 at patreon.com/Let's Talk Oculus. Back to the show. All right, welcome back to part 4 of Let's Talk Oculus, where we're now joined by Ashley Cooper and Brady Wright, the duo behind the award-winning dance game Audio Trip. How are you both? It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
That's good.
After about a year and a half.
Yeah, a year and a half. It's kind of crazy how we both, I met both of you in Albania for Njuna Deep Explorations back in 2023. Yeah. And I think we were just eating breakfast. I think you were talking to my roommate, and then you mentioned VR, and I just turned around and going, VR? And then it kind of, the conversation sparked. But that was like a while ago. And now, I think we've tried to get you on the show for a while, but then things not worked out. But then it's kind of fitting that it didn't work out, because now the Above and Beyond DLC has just come out, which is kind of fitting from when we met, right? So before we talk about that, let's kind of start off with the beginning of Audio Trip. So how did it originate? I remember, Brady, you came from a software dev background, right? And then Ashley, you were architect, right? Mm-hmm. Is that correct? Yeah, perfect. So how did Audio Trip originate?
So I was working one day at my job at the time, and just listening to music, and it was a mix. It was like Spotify. It was a mix of Njuna stuff and some other things. And then this one song by Raphael Frost came on called Red, and I was just super amped while I was sitting there working. And I was thinking, so I was working in VR at the time, VR games, and I was thinking, man, how could I use VR? How could I create an experience that would really help people feel what I'm feeling, express this energy that I'm feeling listening to this song? And I just started to kind of have this idea. And Ashley and I had met probably only 6 or 8 months before that, or something like that, and had fallen in love and had very common creative visions and aesthetics and all of this. And so we wanted to do something together. We wanted to make something together. So I came home and I said, hey, here's this idea I had. Why don't I play the song for you that got me excited?
Mm-hmm.
I'll record you, because she's a dancer. She's been a dancer her whole life. I said, well, I'll record you dancing to it, and then we'll play the video back and try to kind of like reverse engineer how would we create interactive elements that would coax a person into making those same movements very intuitively.
Very engineer-based analysis of my dreams.
Yeah,
that was great. I loved it.
Yeah, so that's how we came up with the idea and came up with the initial gameplay mechanics.
Yeah,
And,
he was just like so obsessed with this song, which is in the game now. It was the first one that we made for the game, 7-minute song, and it has such a journey, and it gets you like so riled up, and it takes you down, and comes back up, and it's like, how do I get people to move to this the way that I feel like I want to move? And so I danced for him, and then we figured out what we do to get people to move like me.
Yeah, and the other element to it was that as I was listening to the song, I was like visualizing the environment, kind of like visually expressing the song at that point. And so that was another key element that we wanted to have in the game, which was having visual environments that help tell the story in a visual way of the song.
Yeah.
Right? So between the movement of the player and the visuals around you, we wanted to make it just like this completely immersive way to feel the music
Right.
in every way possible using the technology available.
Because I was still an architect. I was working at an architecture firm, and I was still into making, built environments. I knew since 3rd grade I wanted to be an architect. So that's how I identified. I was like, I am an architect always, only. And he was like, but what if we made something in VR and we expanded your capabilities? You didn't have to worry about like building codes, historic overlay zones, structural limitations, bad clients, budgets. Well, still have budgets, but gravity, like you could do anything in VR. I'm like, that is appealing. I like that.
And your degree was specifically in environmental design.
Right. So from the very beginning, we were like, okay, how do we do something that gets people as amped as you are listening to the song and gets people to move and feel what it feels to like feel everything in your body with all of the senses coming, from all sides. And that's how we started.
Wow.
I feel like the name Audio Trip must have just come naturally from what you were trying to make happen. Yeah.
There's a funny story behind that. So the original title of the game for a very long time, it was like probably at least the first year or so, while it was in development, was Rave Runner. And we initially released kind of like a soft release in arcades, like VR arcades. And we did that because with a VR arcade, people don't expect to have like tons of content because it's like high turnover. They're only playing for a few minutes at a time. They're going to play a range of games. But that way we could get some like field testing done. And so we did it that way. And the operators of the arcades reported back to us that the name, with the word rave in the title, was kind of a polarizing thing because a lot of people have very positive associations with that, but other people have very negative associations with that term. And so we realized, okay, maybe we need to rebrand. And it was really terrible because we'd invested so much time and emotional energy and all this into this idea, which was the name, designing the logo, and all that. And so we had this like really agonizing rebranding period where we had to kind of come up with something else, another name that we were happy with. And it took a long time to finally be comfortable with something, and then
it took a couple months, right? It was like I never want to rebrand again because this has been it had been like our daily conversation. We wake up and we're like, okay, let's work on Rave Runner, and then for months we're like, let's work on the game. I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, so we finally settled on Audio Trip, and it seemed like the right fit because it still kind of communicated obviously musicality with audio, but also the trippiness of the experience we were trying to get across to people, and I feel like
journey,
and also that it's a journey, which was another core thing. So you have the journey aspect of it, the trippiness, and that wasn't as polarizing while still kind of getting across the core ideas that we're going to get across. So.
I'm glad you think it's a natural fit. I mean, I feel like at this point it could be anything else. And it really did open the possibility of genres in the music we would put in the game, because we didn't want to limit that to, I mean, we obviously love electronic music and house, deep house, and Juna, everything. But people were asking us from the beginning, like, who's your target audience? We're like, humans who dance? I don't know. And it actually has become that. It's amazing still to read all of the reviews, and some of them just like, choke up.
Because we have 8-year-olds and 80-year-olds.
Yeah. And all over the world. And, we see people like the 70-year-old said, I haven't danced like this since I was 7, and you've made me remember what it's like to be a little ballerina. And other people like, I played this to get through chemotherapy. I'm like, whoa. And some people, like, I'll watch a Twitch streamer in Japan, and she doesn't speak any English at all, but at a moment where I had choreographed something that was like one of my favorite parts of Joy or something, she's like, ooh, and like, I know how you feel, man. It's just right there. It's so cool.
Yeah. Ashley, were you a dance instructor at all? Or was it just you were just kind of because it sounds like even though you're maybe not instructing people as much in VR, like you're choreographing and such, you're getting that satisfaction as if you were an instructor, because everyone's getting that same feeling that you're kind of showing everybody, which must be really like satisfying to hear and beautiful to see as well.
It's awesome. It's like instantly you pass all barriers of language, and I know what you know, and it's a really cool connection. So I've choreographed a little bit. My summary of my dance background, I started when I was 3 and tap jazz ballet, and then I did competitively when I was 7 on a team, and then I went through a series of 3 knee surgeries where they said that I could never dance again or maybe not walk the same. And I'm doing both just fine now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then I started belly dancing. I did that for 16 years straight. I still do it every now and then. I love to.
But that was initially because that was a style of dance that was easier on your knees as they were recovering.
Yeah, exactly. And then I loved like the expression of it and everything and the culture of it. So I did that competitively on a troupe and solo and semi-professionally, like on the side of being an architect. Sort of, it was a cool duo. Yeah. And in LA, I also was a flash mobber, and then I was part of the core, like paid flash mobbers as a professional flash mobber for about 4 years.
That's cool.
It was fun. So I've had a lot of styles, and love ballroom dancing also. So I kind of took all of that and then made, I guess, the audio trip style, because I do have some moves that are legit dance moves that I've put into pieces of it, and you might recognize, like, I'll take the pieces of the choreography and save them as snippets and copy paste into each of the other songs, which is in the editor, and players use this also when they choreograph. But, one of them I'll call like the Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like, you'll feel it when you dance it. But otherwise, it's like, it has been really interesting to create this choreography of just your head and hands, which was the, challenge from the very beginning, until you get all the peripherals and hip trackers. And
right, of course.
Yeah, because dance, obviously people think about feet movement, but that's not widely, like tracking feet movement, and it's not widely available right now. And even where it is available, there's still, like, if you have foot trackers, there's still the limitation that there's no haptic feedback in those devices, right? So it's just the tracking. And we found in our experiments that if you don't get that haptic feedback, like when you successfully complete a move, you catch an element, without that haptic feedback, it feels really empty and disappointing. So it's something that we're looking forward to the technology advancing to the point that we can really incorporate the full body with proper feedback. We think that's going to be it's probably going to be pretty soon because the full body tracking is becoming more and more popular.
Yeah.
There are a lot more companies trying to push that. And I think it's, of course, you have Haptics, which is someone we've worked with. We have support in the game for Haptics. That's one way to have it. You can actually put, they have pieces you can put on your ankles and different parts of your body, so you have that feedback on all the different.
And the vest,
even like facial interface
on the head as well.
I do love my Haptics vest. I haven't used it for Audio Trip yet, but way back when I got it, I was using it for synth riders a bit, but it gets heavy for those rhythm games.
Yeah,
it's good exercise.
Yeah, definitely good exercise.
We love that from the beginning. I think we were working with Subpack in the very beginning, right? And it's a little lighter.
Subpack, yeah.
And even Woojer, we partnered with them really early on, just little belts.
Yeah, they're like goes directly onto your skin, right? Those ones.
Does it?
We had that's like the electric one. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, there's so many of them. They get confusing.
You could wear nothing if you wanted to, and then it'd be on your skin.
I guess so. I know the Pico now are shipping as well motion trackers, right, for ankles and arms as well. So you can see this might be the next step, maybe in Meta's vision in the future as well, to bring, because it's important to it's more the haptics, the tracking, great, don't get me wrong, but like you said, if there's no haptics to it, then you have no idea if you're feeling like you're hitting the targets or getting the right moves and such. And so and so it's great to see though, because your game can be much more expandable when that hardware is out, so you can really push more features when that is available, which is really cool.
Oh yeah, I'm going to say the thing that we've been telling our players who've been asking about it for years and years and years. When is foot choreography coming out?
Right.
We made this maybe a year after we actually launched it, because I was so excited about it. I mean, DDR was my game growing up, and it definitely influenced our game. And I designed all of the analogous game objects for feet. So for the gem, you have touch, and for feet, you have tap. And then you have a dirt gem is a kick, and then drum is a stomp, and ribbon is a slide. And I've already designed all the visuals for that, designed some choreography for it. And then we did it with full choreography, both hands and feet. It gets really crazy.
Wild.
But we have 2 songs we've had in the game for years, on
a beta, yeah.
And we have some players that are okay, is it coming out next? Is that the next update? I'm until trackers are really haptic.
Yeah, well, and I think the haptic support we have was made, I think we made it so that it included hands and feet. So when we push that out, it'd be possible to have haptics on your ankles or wherever the device is.
So you mentioned, sorry, go ahead, Dan.
No, go.
You mentioned when you started Audio Trip, you were in sort of VR, the space, I guess. What got you into VR, and I guess what other than Audio Trip, what do you like to experience in VR?
So I got into VR in earnest. Of course, as a kid growing up in the 80s, virtual reality was this thing that was almost like jetpacks and flying cars. It was this thing we really wanted to be real, but it was it kind of seemed like it was always going to be too good to be true. And so I guess I looked forward to it and I was excited about it, but I also sort of had this we'll see, And I think it was 2010, I was at a Unite conference, which is the Unity Game Engine annual conference. And there was this kind of breakout session at the very end of the thing that I thought was going to be sometimes at the end of those, they have these breakout sessions that nobody comes to because it's just somebody with some harebrained idea. And it was one on VR, and I was surprised. He was standing remotely, and people were just packed in there. And it was just about how someone had this vision, we're going to create this VR headset, and it's going to be real. It's finally going to be a thing. And it was like this watershed moment feeling, because the room was just so energetic and packed it like you were standing room only. I couldn't believe it. And it kind of made me think, all right, maybe this is going to go somewhere. And I kind of put that on the shelf. And then it was maybe 2014, I finally got to try a DK1.
Mm-hmm.
And it had the drift issues where it kind of, you put it on, it was all gyroscopic. So it would kind of turn slowly. And so you have to recenter it every few seconds. And I was like, okay, it's neat, but it's still 3'd off. And then I actually got a DK. I went to Unite 2015, played with the DK2, and I was like, okay, it's here now. This is real. And and that's when I got in. I was like, okay, so DK2, that was it. I got one. I got one of the last ones before they stopped shipping. And I just started working on prototypes constantly because I was obsessed. But for me, I think the thing that I like about VR, I think a lot of people always thought that VR was going to be Call of Duty strapped on your face.
Yeah.
And to me, and I think we all kind of had that idea. We watched movies and things like that, and that's how it was always depicted. But once you actually do it, you start to be kind of surprised that the things that are interesting is not necessarily standing in the middle of the Grand Canyon, because everything's so far away, it might as well be like a skybox. What's really interesting is stuff that's really up close to you, stuff that you can reach out and touch, it's within arm's reach. Even little miniature things, detailed miniature characters and things like that. Really, really surprising how VR wound up being suited for things we hadn't really anticipated. And I think we're still in the process of learning what those things are and how best to leverage them. So for me, I love cockpit sort of based experiences, or obviously physical kind of things. I love Super Hot. That's one of my favorites. But I love
you should play Action Hero. It just came out in December, and it's basically Super Hot's sequel. It's a spiritual successor.
Really?
I haven't
It's
played
fantastic.
that one.
Yeah, you should definitely that one.
I love I Expect You to Die. That's a really those are the kind of things that I really like. I just love that sense of taking you to another place where it's just that sense of immersion, that sense of presence, and it's not just looking at pretty things or whatever. It's more of just really being convinced that you're in a different place doing something else.
It's that immersion, right? It's the immersion and just believing that you're in somewhere, and it doesn't really feel like it. And then like we talked about earlier, the haptics and also just your visual sensors and the audio as well, with the spatial audio and such. You really believe that you're where you are, which is also so special about Audio Trip, with all the visuals as you're playing it. Like you said earlier, you really feel that music from just the audio standpoint, but also your visual standpoint as well, which is amazing to see that you captured that.
Yeah, and that, like we said, was from the very beginning. Every song actually was a custom design. It still is, but we've sort of come up with different ways that we streamline that, only being 2 people for years and now 3 just very recently. But yeah, I'm glad that you appreciate that and see that, because it was interesting when I realized that the background that I had in dance and choreography and the background in the training as an architect meshed together so seamlessly, because I was expressing what I felt the song sounded like in both visual and physical ways. So every song, in every moment, I try to capture those ups and downs and pops and accents.
Absolutely. And then Ashley, when did you get into VR? Have you tried anything before? Did Brady force you into the DK1 at least, or anything like that?
Yeah, he strapped a headset on me and then we'd come out to do a podcast.
It was 2018, I guess, right? I probably put you in a headset in 2017. But when you got into
I think the first one was the apartment thing. Right?
No, there had to have been before that, but but yeah, so we were looking at moving in together. We were trying to find an apartment, and we were wondering like how's our furniture and stuff going to fit in some of the floor plans that we're looking at.
Yeah, like moving 2 houses into one, and we found a place that we kind of liked. He's like, I don't know if all our furniture would fit. I'm like, yeah, well, of course it will. I'm an architect. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. And I stayed after work and quickly found the floor plan online, modeled it in 3D, and then kind of estimated our furniture, made a floor plan, and then took like a video through it and then some screenshots. And then I sent it, I emailed it to him, and I'm like, check your email. I thought I was like going to totally impress him. And he was like, cool, we'll just export it this type of file and then we'll look at it in VR. I'm like, okay, I don't want to be on that. This is cool. So I went home and we only had Vive at the time. So I'm sitting there looking on his computer as he's in VR, and he's in this space. He's like, okay, yeah, it kind of works, but it's still really small. I'm like, no, I think it totally works. It totally works. We can totally do it. I'm like just defending my design like crazy.
Yeah. And I think it's a little too small. Like there's not enough room between like the couch and this.
And he's like, no, you should see it in VR. I'm like, I can see it on the screen. I mean, I know, and I designed it. I've been all through it. It's like in my head. I get it. It's visual reasoning I have. I get it. And he's like, no, you should really get in VR. And so then I put the headset on and I was like, oh yeah, it is small.
You feel
like, and you're there. You're really there.
Yeah, and that's when like you really realize, wow, VR has this power to actually put you there in a way nothing else can, and make you understand it in a way that you can't understand any other way.
Totally, I was sold. I mean, I had already done a decade of architecture professionally, like all different scales and types, and I thought I understood like how to really be in a space when you see every little corner and you can understand the distances, the dimensions, everything. But there's nothing to replace VR.
There's this visceral component.
Yeah.
That's insane, you know.
Yeah.
So that was 2017, and then we started our company together, 2018, like February.
Yeah.
So
we both quit our jobs on the same day, and then we jumped off together.
And then you went for it, and now look at you. It's worked out, which is great. I want to with Audio Trip itself. Like, obviously, there's a few really good like rhythm games, shall we say, in on the Quest store. Like, obviously, Beat Saber is one of them, which is like obviously one of the beloved titles. Yeah. What is that? Synth Riders.
At least talk about the ones we play. All right.
Well, yeah, we don't really play Beat Saber here, but anyway, Synth Riders is another one that we love here, but. Like, how does Audio
Smash Drums? Sorry, I just got to plug Smash Drums.
Yeah.
Love that.
How does Audio Trip like differentiate from other rhythm games? Like for me, I would say like they're like rhythm games. I would say Audio Trip's more like a dancing game, and I think that's where the kind of differentiator comes by. But I want to hear from your like own words. Like, how does Audio Trip stand out from the crowd?
I would agree. So we came up with all of the gameplay elements, all except maybe the dirges or something like that. Which I think was the last element that we added. Yeah. By like late 2018, I think we had everything sort of like designed.
Right.
And that was before, like we had never heard of Synth Riders. Obviously, by that time we had heard of Beat Saber. When we started on the project, Beat Saber hadn't been announced either.
No.
So we, in fact, the only rhythm game in VR that I knew of was Audio Shield at that time. And I enjoyed Audio Shield because it was procedural. You only had these momentary flashes where it felt like dance, or because it would just like randomly kind of work, and it's like, wow, this actually kind of feels like it's matching the vibe. But then it wouldn't repeat, right? So like the chorus would repeat, but that pattern would repeat. So sort of that musicality felt like it was kind of missing, and I was kind of frustrated with that. So our kind of contribution was like, okay, well, let's make all the choreography hand authored. You know, make sure that it's a person who, choreographer, actually hand authoring it so that it makes sense. It really fits the music. It repeats when it should, and all that kind of stuff. Right. So that was the philosophy going into it. So it was all going to be hand curated rather than generated. And then some of these other games sort of started emerging. We saw the trailer for Beat Saber. It's like, wow, that looks really cool too. It was a very different concept because it's cutting blocks with lightsabers. And then it was, we heard about synth writers maybe like a year and a half, 2 years after we had been developing.
Yeah, I think
it was like right after it was released.
We were like pre-launch or like about to launch or something, and we heard about it.
Yeah, and we were kind of surprised how similar it was in a lot of ways. It didn't have all the same elements that we had put in ours, but at the time, I think they've been adding elements since the original release because they didn't have any barriers originally. And I think they added that in later. But anyway, but it had the ribbon kind of thing, which they call I guess rails or something.
Rails,
yeah, and so that was like, okay, it's interesting. We're like on similar pages. I mean, actually, if you step back and think about it, like if your goal is to make that type of game, you have more fluid.
You're limited. There's only so
it makes sense.
Yeah.
So but I do think that the distinguishing, to get back to your core of your question, the thing that we really tried to stand out for is the feeling of dance, right?
Yeah.
That we really wanted to be not just a dance game, but like a physical, like really physical experience. We want the person to have to move. And some people will complain about that. And I think that's the classic thing with any kind of gamer, right? The goal of a gamer is to expend the least effort while maximizing the score, right? That's human nature. And of course,
and I've found myself doing it now that I play more games.
Like if you play a shooter, like, okay, I want to use as little ammo as possible and get the highest kill numbers as possible. You're always trying to optimize in that direction. And so as the game developer, you're trying to optimize in a little bit different direction because you know that if things are too easy, they're not fun.
Yeah.
So we found that like the more we make you move, the more fun it feels. Obviously, your body's wanting to like minimize effort to save energy. But when like she moved barriers one time, there was one prototype we were working on, and she had set the barriers over just a couple inches from where they were.
Yeah.
And it was just enough that to get around it, I had to take a step. I had to move my foot. And the difference between just leaning versus having to take a tiny step made all the difference. Like now I was moving my center of gravity, so I actually had to adjust my feet. And that one little thing totally made the difference.
It wakes you up in your body and you remember like you have feet. And then you tend to have this desire to move more. We noticed that we were in a lot of like conferences in the beginning before we had a publisher, just trying to get out there, be seen, and see what connections we can make. And we had so many people come through that we had to onboard, and it was really cool feedback for us, like just play testing. And this was right when we put in barriers, like during, I think it was before we launched in arcades. And I was learning like how to do the difference between the beginner, regular, and expert levels also. And for beginner now, I have like certain rules. I never actually have a duck barrier. It's only leans. And then your first duck is in regular because it's a little softer of a move.
Yeah, it's easier to lean. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you can cheat a little more. But we saw that people would be barely moving. They'd just be standing really rigid and kind of just like as much as little as they could do. And then they hit that first duck barrier and like, whoa, what was that? And then all of a sudden their whole body is awake and they start like moving and dancing more. Like, okay, the barrier is actually, for me in the beginning, I was a little hesitant to introduce the barriers because I was telling him it felt like negative feedback. And I really wanted to focus on positive feedback and like feeling capable and feeling the joy through all of this. But having that where you have to avoid a bit actually just, it makes you move more.
Yeah. Well, we addressed it.
I like how it's like forcing the user into like it's almost like how an artist uses negative space. It's like taking away that space and forcing you to use the open space. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's actually kind of how we designed it. We had like this whole design meeting to figure out the barriers.
We initially tried to incentivize the same type of movement by using head targets. It's like, okay, we'll move your head towards the target. But that just felt really weird. We had rings. So it wasn't like something was like blocking your vision so you could see through it. It was a ring that you'd have to put your head through, but it still felt weird to like put your head in anything that's flying at it like really fast. That just didn't feel right.
We were like, the only thing I could think of comparable was soccer. If you're gonna, like
hit the ball,
hit the ball like a header, but
but it just didn't feel right, and so barriers made a lot more sense. And it achieved the same thing. It's like if you have something flying at your face, you're instinctually going to avoid it. Go towards it. So we might as well lean into that.
It's also more natural. If you have barriers, you end up like doing whatever you feel like normal and natural to you, right? Rather than if you did like just head movements, it's kind of like maybe forcing yourself into a certain position, and it's not giving you that full expression of movement, right? Where now you have barriers, you could do anything you want, just get out the way.
Right. Which is why it's that negative space thing that you're
and also a spin move.
And I think we never wanted to overprescribe movement for the player. We wanted to leave that room for personal style. That was important to us as well. But speaking of leaning in, we also leaned into the physicality. That's why our UI, and a lot of people that are used to like laser pointer based UIs, our UI for those who haven't played it, you actually push physical buttons. You have like a virtual finger and you're pushing buttons and sliding.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I love your UI. It is fantastic. Yeah, it's like dead second. It's my favorite UI is the touch buttons, and like you feel like you're doing it. And in fact, when I like forget it, and sometimes when you hit like you choose whatever mode you're doing, and then you have to press the go button, and I'll like forget, and I'm standing there, and then I see like you put like a visual cue that sort of goes to the button, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got to push the go button. I like this.
Well, we've gotten a lot of people who are just used to the other style complain about it and say, well, I wish you were like all the other games. And we wanted to make the UI more physical, right? Because the whole game is physical, and we wanted to continue that theme of not minimizing effort, because it is a lot easier to just like aim a laser and do this, not have to move your body much. But if you're having to like push buttons like this, we keep the player in that embodied state. There's not ever a point in the game where you're just like, okay, I'm not required to move it all in, so I'm just going to go back to minimal. Like we're always requiring that movement. So we feel like that kind of keeps the theme consistent and the experience consistent across the entire time you're playing the game. Even when you're not playing the game, you're just seeing the UI.
We also really, really wanted it to be as universal and intuitive as possible from the very beginning, because we felt that is what VR really needs to be. I didn't grow up playing a ton of games. Now I've played a whole lot more being a game developer, but I wanted people who had never played games, like my parents or grandparents even, to put on the headset, be in the game and know exactly what to do. So if they see their hand and they see buttons, they just move into it. They don't have to learn buttons to say like, okay, the trigger is the laser right now, and that means select. And the whole game was designed with that in mind.
Yeah, we didn't want to require pushing any buttons on the controllers, because that requires like learning this button versus that button, that kind of thing. And we found that VR has done this amazing job of bringing a lot of people into playing games that don't identify as gamers. And I think that's because there are a lot more people out there who would be playing games, but they're intimidated by like having to learn a gamepad and memorize button combos and things like that. It's very artificial. Whereas VR offers this really natural, familiar way to move around and interact.
So Ashley, you mentioned learning the difference between beginner, regular, expert, and cardio, and sort of forming how those modes work. Could you speak to how they differ and maybe how the process to making them might differ?
Yeah, totally. Because this has been a huge learning process for me, and I feel like I've finally gotten it down after 6 years. I actually always start with the regular. To me, that's like the baseline, just choreography. sort of the full expression with not being overly prescribed. And so it allows for the flair between, but also like tells the story of the song. Then I remove a lot for beginner, and I have like specific rules I've come up with now. No duck barriers. If I introduce a dir gem, it's only after a gem, so you understand the difference between, and it's starts on one side and it will repeat on the other side, to really get you used to the different elements. And then for expert, I basically just make it expert. And people ask me, I had a ton more, and more dir gems, more ducks, more physicality, and more cognitive load. So it is more prescribed. And I have learned over the years to make it more difficult than I think it should be, because people are tryhards and they will ask for more and more, like that expert plus and piece of it. And then for cardio, that was a whole other story. And that was something that Brady really wanted. And it was interesting how you're saying like that they don't really know what they want. Like a lot of people would complain at the beginning, okay, this jump from beginner to regular is too high and it's not like the other games and it's too difficult. We need to make it easier. But then Brady had the idea of cardio, and we thought, okay, less cognitive load, but more physicality. So think if you're on a treadmill and you know the rhythm and you know how to go, but you're just doing it to music. We wanted it to be a bit more than that. So I thought of like aerobic classes, but that's where I really heavily rely on the snippets. And I have a very specific set of basically moves that I use and repeat for cardio that are expansion of your chest and rapid up and down, a lot of like squats and leans, really using your full body more.
And using a more space, like taking up more space. It's bigger movements, more physical exertion, but lower cognitive load because there's a bit more repetition. And
like each move will
the
at
moves
least
are less
be
complex.
Each move will at least be 4 beats, if not 8 beats. I repeat them a whole lot, and then you'll repeat them again when you see them later. And when we launched cardio, suddenly we got a lot less complaints about the other levels. and then people really loved it. So it's like they thought that they wanted easier. They actually wanted more challenge. It ended up.
It's something so unique about your game. I think it's one of my favorite parts about your game, which really differentiates it from everything else, is that you have that dedicated cardio mode. Because I noticed it straight away. Like I mostly play in beginner because my play space, to be honest. But then I realized when cardio mode, it's the movements are so, like you said, like they're much more grand. Like there's notes maybe a bit further out or such that requires you to maybe like puff your chest more, or like, move your arms left and right and such. And I realized it definitely does not work in my apartment, but when I go downstairs into the common room, it works just fine. But I love the fact that you've done that, because it's, you see all the other, like, let's say the other rhythm games, there's like maybe 10, 20 different like difficulty levels, like beginner, novice, expert plus, hard plus, all these different ones. And you can see like everyone is kind of just, there's just more notes, and maybe the BPM is a bit faster in terms of the notes coming at you. But with your game, like you kind of have a bit of that with the normal difficulty levels, but then you have this cardio where it's like, this is just a full-on workout, and it's not the fact that you need to be super good at the game in order to get this workout, which is great to hear. Yeah, I can see that as a big selling point too, as someone who wants it as a pure fitness game.
I think the approach in most rhythm games, not just VR games, but like any rhythm game, the approach is normally just to increase cognitive load, so that it just becomes more and more intricate. And when we realized that there were two axes, since it's a very physical, like full body sort of game, you have the physical exertion, the physical difficulty, but then you have the cognitive difficulty. And so we really wanted to see, like, what if we just push the physical part of it and not the cognitive part? Because the cognitive part, it is intimidating to a lot of people, or it's just not the kind of game that they want to play. And also, if you're wanting to work out, it is nice to have like these simpler moves, but that are just bigger.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people were playing the game, like 30 minutes to an hour every day as their daily workout. Yeah. In fact, we didn't know anything about this. It was a surprise to us. I forget how we even found out about it, but I think somebody told us about it. But it was a Chinese university that did a study, and they used our game for the study. And they were figuring out the difference in workout routine retention between traditional forms of exercise like gym and like treadmill, that kind of thing, and VR gaming.
It was a university, I forget what it was, and it was one of the head guys at HTC tweeted it. Because they used Vive in the study.
Yeah, they used Vive in the study. So it turned out that people who played our game as their exercise were 4.2 times, I think it was, more likely to stay with it long term than traditional exercise.
You use that in your marketing material?
I think we have. We've mentioned it a few times, but it's
I like it.
That's what's amazing about.
That's pretty cool.
When you're doing something for the fun of it, you'll just keep doing it. If you're doing it because you feel like you're eating your vegetables and it's good for you, and well, I guess I ought to do this.
Right.
It's hard to really keep that motivation long term. So.
Yeah, and after that's when we really leaned in more to playlists and made the kind of built-in playlists that are heavy on squats, big on arms, and things like that. And you can make your own playlists, obviously. And then we got all excited about the Above and Beyond DLC.
I was going to say this leads us perfectly into this.
Yeah, because the 30-minute mix, that was really, really important to us and really special for a lot of reasons. And choreographing that, especially for cardio, that was really fun.
So for those who aren't familiar, the Above and Beyond DLC is the first time we've done something where it is a continuous, which electronic music is normally played in continuous sets. Like a DJ will sit there and it's continuous flow, no break between the songs, blended together, seamlessly. So it kind of tells this story. And we thought, we'd been thinking for a while, man, it would be really great to have that as the way people could do their workouts, because that way you're not stopping and breaking that flow. You remain in that flow state. You have ups and downs, so you have moments of rest over the course of the workout, but you never break that flow. You never have to stop. And that was our big goal. And as far as we know, this is the first time any rhythm game's ever done anything like that. So we wanted it to be like this 30-minute.
Like built into the original.
Yeah. So we want to be like this 30-minute continuous mix, and that's how you work out.
Yeah.
And it was perfect. I mean, from the very beginning, we always wanted every experience to be a journey, a trip. And that's how we really chose the songs. Like Red is a journey. And everything has been the story of that whole journey. So having the mix of all of our favorite songs of Above and Beyond.
Yeah. So we've been big fans of Above and Beyond for many, many years. In fact, we had our, I guess you could say, at ABGT 250 at the Gorge. And that was, the thing about Above and Beyond, they play these sets and they tell a story. They have a beginning, middle, and end, kind of like they evolve. Yeah. And we really wanted for that to come through for players of our game to like really have that same type of experience. And we'd always thought for years as we were developing Audio Trip, and we really would love to do like these long continuous mixes, because when you add that physical experience into a long form journey, you feel like you've lived in another life or something.
Or really been to a show. That's why we called it Rave Runner from the beginning, because we loved going to these shows and we wanted to recreate that whole show experience. So one song's not going to do that for you, or even a playlist,
Yeah. So we'd like to do more of that. We want to, if it's something that people are enjoying, because we think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea. With the 30-minute experience, does it work similar to like the playlist feature that you have, where you can bring songs together, or did you like do your own choreography for this whole 30 minutes? Like, is it kind of unique? Like, how did you develop it?
We were very honored to partner with Above and Beyond, and they actually mixed this mix just for us.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
It is a track that is made for Audio Trip from the tracks that we chose that are included in the DLC too. So it's
Yeah.
just its own track. You just click it and you go, and it's 30 minutes. And it has all beginner, regular, expert, and cardio levels.
But it wasn't just a matter of like pasting the same choreographies
Right.
in the sequence. Like the mixes are slightly different from some of the mixes are slightly different from the ones that are the standalone versions in the game.
And the
So-
transitions between how to choreograph.
Right, you have to have like choreography for the transition. So it's a bit different choreography. She had to do a lot of extra effort to do that. But we really believed in having that additional way to experience it in there. So that was important to us.
I
And
love
lends
it.
itself well to the ups and downs. So it's not like you're like full out dancing the entire time. Of course, it's a journey.
It is way better than having like, because in the rhythm games, you pick a song, you're like, all right, that was great. And then all of a sudden it's boom, hard out. You're back in the menu selecting a new song. And it's just so nice to be able to go automatically right. You don't leave the Zen area you're in. Everything just keeps going. And you got the little counter there. If you're like, how much time's left? You just look at the time. It's a great 30-minute. And you said people like to work out for their 30-minute or an hour. It just gives that great block of time. It's
we actually have seen over the years that like average playtime is about an hour. And I think because it's so immersive and you really don't know you've been in it for so long, and so just lean into that more. Which was interesting because in the very beginning, I mean, the first song was Red, it was 7 minutes, and then you know where I'm going with this. And people, we had an early set of playtesters at the time of
like
Discord.
Private beta.
And they were like, nobody's going to play a 7-minute song. No, you can't do that. It's too long.
They're like 2.5, 3 minutes max.
And that's just what you do. You just can't do longer. I'm like, okay, well, I guess we could make like a quick trip and then kind of cut it up. And we're really reluctant about this. We did it, and now we have a 30-minute mix. And we're like, there's going to be no quick trip.
What happened was the analytics showed that people, when we finally released the game, people were mostly not playing the quick trip version. They were playing the full versions of the songs. Yeah. And people were wanting more and more, and they wanted these long workouts. So we're like, okay, well, let's go the other way and do like a 30-minute single song. And
we always felt it was a little weird too. It's like I had to design where the quick trip was cutting up the song, and we really, admire the art of the songs and the artists who create them, and that's why, the Above and Beyond DLC does not have any quick trips. We wanted you to experience the entire song.
Yeah, we didn't feel good about cutting it up. So.
Oh, that's amazing. For me, I thought Brady, I thought you're the one who put together the mix. I was like, with your DJ background, I was like, this is a pretty good mix that Brady's done.
Actually, I did, when we were picking out the songs we wanted, we did kind of like pre-viz, if you will, how they were going to fit together. So I just loaded the songs into my deck, and so I played with the sequence, like the order of the songs, that kind of stuff, to get an idea of probably what it would be like, and that helped to inform us which songs we wanted to pick for the DLC pack. And then when we told them, okay, these are the songs we want, now we'll trust you to do it because you're the experts, obviously. They did the actual mix. So
that does lead into. I was curious how you came about choosing these songs for the 30-minute. Yeah.
I mean, so we wanted certain really iconic ones, like some which everybody. That's like the must-have song. We actually talked to them too. They kind of suggested a couple to us. We're like, how about this one? So it was a mixture. It was a mixture of like certain ones we definitely wanted to have and ones that they kind of wanted to have. And so that's how it's going to go. Yeah,
I mean, like a lot of them, if you've been in Juno Family at all, you'll recognize them. I think the newest one is Crazy Love, but that's been on for a while now.
Yeah, so we want some old classics and some new.
Yeah.
We thought that it was a really good introduction of Above and Beyond to the world if you've never heard of Above and Beyond. And we've seen that a lot in the reviews, like never heard of this, but now I'm obsessed, welcome to Juno Family.
Yeah. it's a family, all right. It's a great family. I want to kind of go back with the process here, is because I remember when we chatted in Explorations in 2023, I remember you saying a goal of yours is to bring the Injuna Deep label, like some of the music, and obviously Above and Beyond, who kind of created that label itself. Like, what was the process, and like from how did this all begin? Like, was it seamless? Because that was a year and a half ago, and now it's like come out, right? So, like, how was that process, and was there any like challenges during that whole process on making this DLC happen?
Yeah, I mean, it took as long as it did from the time that we talked to you about it, because we had some other things we needed to finish up in the main game before transitioning to working on the DLC. So that took a little time. But we had dreamt of doing it ever since we started the game, because we would be sitting working, like 18-hour days at our desks while the game was in development. We would be playing, ABGD sets, Bluestone sets, and while we're just sitting there, working. And so that was most of the music that was playing. Like, we just listened to group therapy radio.
Yeah.
Every day, and so then surprisingly they contacted us. It was during COVID. Yeah. They wrote us an email and said, "Hey, we've been playing your game at HQ, and we really like it. We were wondering if you'd be interested in collaborating." They were like,
"We don't know if you've heard of us."
Yeah, we were like, "Yeah, we know you."
It's like, hold on, let me scream into my pillow real quick. Yes, and we sent all these pictures of all of the shows we've been to now, like all over the world. Like, this collaboration was a dream. So it's been years in the making, and and they, I think, were asking us at the beginning what we wanted, and we had just gone to 350, and we put Elon Bluestone's 350 set in there, just like in. I don't know how long of the clip we actually put in. I had choreographed.
We put like a 30-minute clip in it.
Okay, and I choreographed like 10 minutes of it and sent it back to HQ. So they were playing it, and they're like, "Oh, maybe we could get Elon in it too." We're like, "Oh my god!" We're just fangirling like crazy. So it's been a journey with them. We're very, very excited. It also took so long. Okay, another challenge making this. We wanted the environments to be very special. So we put a ton into them. Made its own whole world, and broke away from like the typical color scheme, even like some design guidelines we had created over the years for the game, so that it really, really felt above and beyond.
Yeah.
And we even pushed
like
it. We're like
group therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah, their colors, their ribbons. They have a lot of visuals they use in all of their branding, and we even pushed it like, "Is this too brandy?" And they're like, "No, we love it. It's amazing." And then when a week before we launched it, we went to a group therapy milestone show, 600
in Mexico City.
Oh, Mexico, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and
when it was time for Above and Beyond's set, when they were going on,
I had chosen one of our environments for the key art, with all of the ribbons kind of coming together, because they have that motif a lot of this idea of like, from all over the world, music unites us, and the colors of all the ribbons kind of connect and come together. So I chose that as the whole like key art of the DLC, and Above and Beyond comes on at 600, and the whole background is just like ribbons that basically looks exactly like our key art.
Actually,
we nailed it!
Yeah, the Above and Beyond's whole beginning part of their set was like very, very. It was almost kind of weird. It was like, wow, that
surreal.
That looks like it's just straight from the game.
It was really surreal. I mean, I felt like we really nailed a lot of the environment.
Yeah, so we're like, okay, we totally got it, because like here it feels like we're IRL,
I mean, even later when they were playing some of their classics, like there was a sort of desert scene with like weird billboards, which is one that I came up with for some reason in one of the themes of the songs in the DLC. And I guess we really know them.
Yeah. You're the right people to kind of make a DLC for sure. Did you go back and forth with them, like with like the designs and the visuals, or did they kind of just give you the freedom to kind of do what you want, and then eventually you'd go send it to them to see what they
gave us a lot of freedom. We did send some things back and forth to them, but they seemed to just have a very like open hand with us on that.
Nice.
And I think like they knew we had like really demonstrated to them by that time, like, we know your brand, we really respect your brand, and it's something that we loved our whole whole relationship that we've had.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good experience working with them. They were very. I was expecting, honestly, with any company you work with, they're very like strict, but like, we want to review every use of our this or that.
Right.
They
protective of the IP.
They have a really strong brand.
Yeah, but they were. Yeah, I mean, everything went really smoothly, so it was great.
And they've been really supportive too in cross marketing efforts and stuff. And I hope we do more. I mean, we actually visited their headquarters last year, was it? When we started really in earnest on the collaboration, and we had made a whole experience that we'd love to do later in some other type, maybe an audio trip or some other experience.
Like when we pitched,
that is just for like group therapy radio. That's really like, you really feel like you're at the show. They're one of the shows around the world. So.
Yeah, it seems like depending obviously also on the success of this and such, but obviously just how much you love the brand as well. Like, there could be ones in the future. You must be really proud of like how far this game's come, and obviously now with like some of your heroes inside the game as well. Like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's very gratifying.
Fantastic.
And it's still really awesome to read reviews coming in and how it's touching so many people all over of all ages. It's really cool to spread that.
I just want to make sure, because for all the people out there who love their rhythm games, a big thing for rhythm games and rhythm game people are, okay, great, you got tracks in there, but can I put my own tracks in there? And so I just want to talk a little bit about the custom songs and all that jazz.
Yeah. So we built the editor that we built for us to create the content of the game. It was our plan from the very beginning to make that editor available in game, in VR to everybody else, to all the players. And I think we made that. We exposed that just like within the first month or two after the game was launched. We had to do some extra polishing. Just to really be, make it a good experience for people. So it wasn't from the initial launch, it was like a month or two later. And we've tried to make it as easy as possible to just drop songs into your songs folder, and then they show up in the game, and you just say what BPM it is, or actually it automatically tries to detect the BPM. And then you just start dancing. You just pull the triggers on your controllers. That's the only part where we actually have to use buttons, because it's kind of a complex.
Yeah, you have to. You need inputs.
Yeah. So you hold down the triggers, though. It's really simple. Like, as long as you're holding the trigger down, you just move your arms like you want to move it, and it just records at the interval that you've chosen, like once a beat or every other beat, something like that. And so we try to make it really intuitive. And there's a fan community. And I think at this point, it's like 600 custom tracks or something like that they have right now.
Choreographies for the music. But you can definitely put your own music in. That was something the very beginning we wanted to do.
Yeah, we wanted to be like, you take like an MP3 that you own and just drop it in that folder and be able to go. So.
I think we always emphasize here, like with rhythm or music or dance games or such, like custom songs are so important, because you can only have so many songs, and obviously you have license issues and such like that, so you can't get everything, and that's where custom songs, where the players can make their own. But I'm curious, since obviously you're on that side, what are the numbers like? Like, do you see a lot of people using custom songs, or do you still see like most of the player base will still stick to the tracks that are officially in there?
Yeah, I think most players are playing just the OSTs. The overwhelming majority, and I think it's just because a lot of our players are not traditional gamers or even like tech savvy.
There's friction to add, even just opening up those folders.
Just opening up a folder or whatever, like copying a file, it's intimidating to a lot of people who that's not the kind of thing that they want to do. Yeah. So they're content to just, and it's for those people who are like, okay, we really need to work on more DLC because they need more content,
And I do. I want to do more DLC. Because,
Mhm.
like we said, we've been updating a lot of the game still, which we are also doing. And now we have our other developer, Ellie, and she helped us so much with this DLC. She's also an architect. So
Nice.
she gets the environmental design, and all of us prototyping the design together actually made it a lot easier. So she's also working on a few other exciting updates for the base game right now. So there's a lot coming.
Ooh.
Yeah, because this is the second DLC, right, that you've put out, like, officially and such. Yeah.
You keep segueing perfectly into our follow-up questions, because our next question was, looking ahead to 25, is there anything to share on the future? You'd be as vague as you need. And then my sort of sub-question to that is, as someone who I play a decent amount, like at work, I get sort of short breaks. So I'll hop into Synth Riders, but I'm like in public. So I'll usually play in mixed reality, and I'm curious. But I know like the audio trip is such a big part of your game. And so sort of taking that away, if you feel like MR sort of takes away from that. Yeah.
So it's interesting you asked that. Yeah. So mixed reality is one of the things that's on our roadmap. Very, very coming up soon in our roadmap. And I think you're right. It's a compromise you have to draw between like having that trippiness, but the benefit of having that as an option is a lot of people, I think, have crowded play spaces, or they have pets or whatever, and having that additional awareness with the pass through and being able to see, what's around you, and whether you want to kick your cat or whatever, that helps, I think, make people more at ease to move around and do like you were saying. Yeah. So I think that definitely helps people feel more comfortable moving more, because they're not worried they're going to punch their refrigerator or something.
I mean, it has been, it's a good question to ask, because it's a question we've asked each other, like, does it take the immersion out of it? But we've waited, we've watched, we've tried a lot of things now. We just got back from Immersive Tech Week. We're like watching what's going on. I've been an XR Awards judge for a lot of times, seen a lot of things happen, and I think there are ways to still make it feel immersive. I mean, you can play a game on a computer and it's still immersive, and
100%.
If it comes into your room still, that's what we're still trying to design really well, is like, how do you have the near and the far and that interaction and not get your cat?
right. Not get your pets. Yeah, we have some ideas of how we can strike that balance, like still have things that communicate the feeling of the song visually, while still allowing you to remain aware of your surroundings. And we're excited about that.
Yeah.
And it's also been informing us on designs, like doing this and a few other updates to things like static environment. Because in one, it seems like, okay, why would you do that after this long? But it still has been a request that pops up every now and then, that people don't totally feel comfortable moving through environments where they want to turn them off or something.
Or they're light sensitive or something like that. So
one of my friends did mention getting motion sick in Audio Trip, and it like blew my mind. I was like, how? But I guess this is
some people are super sensitive. I mean, I actually get motion sick really easily. Like most things, even I didn't for years, until like a couple years ago, all of a sudden. And he was like, well, you're a great play tester. So like, I've never actually gotten sick in Audio Trip, which is a really good testament to our design.
And I don't think, the vast majority of people don't have any discomfort. And we made sure of that because the thing that normally causes motion sickness is a sense of acceleration, or when your eyes tell you you're accelerating, but your inner ear disagrees. So we made sure that all motion is constant motion. There's never a sense of acceleration. It's just
changing, right?
Yeah. So that way, like it's. But I think for some people, they are they're just very sensitive to moving things.
Yeah.
So it's a small number of people, and for those people, we're trying to work on a couple of things that will. We think like the MR mode is one way to deal with that. You have another, like if you still want to be fully immersed, have an environment that still has effects in it that communicate the song, but the environment's not moving. You know?
Static, yeah. And I brought that up with mixed reality because we're kind of working that into how this would be like on a static wall in your environment. So we're designing at the same time. And it's also informing us of the design of the biggest update we're working on,
which is multiplayer. Yeah, so
that's gonna be huge. That's gonna be huge. Yeah. Even just to like work out with people right through dance and such is gonna be big. But also just playing this game with your friends, like it's massive. That's exciting.
Like communities, like
we're not gonna do it normal. It has to be big.
Yeah.
So we've been really wanting to make it done well.
Yeah, we don't want it to just be like a glorified leaderboard in the sense that you can effectively play by yourself and then you compare your score with your friends at the end. We want it to be a lot more involved than that, more interactive with the other players.
More collaborative. It's like, I've grown up dancing in groups. And there's nothing to replace that of like looking over and you're dancing together or maybe feeding off each other as you dance,
Yeah, so that's what we're working on.
Oh, I'm so curious. Do you anticipate it to come out this in 2025? Is that the goal? Or unsure?
Can't say exactly.
Can't say. Fair enough.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
That's the goal.
Multiplayer knows the real difficult thing, especially when it comes to music.
Yeah.
If we are going to achieve this thing that we're trying to do where players are really interacting in real time, obviously music is very timing sensitive. And when you start doing internet stuff, you've got latency and lag and that kind of stuff. So that's a huge challenge. And that's one of the main things that is making this difficult. But,
I don't know how Synth Riders does it, but when you start a multiplayer match in Synth Riders, it'll like say synchronizing like before the song starts. It says like synchronizing, and I never really I obviously don't understand the back end of that, but it is like they must be doing something to make sure that they're accounting for this latency.
Yeah, it's a big hurdle. But in early prototypes, it has been really cool to just see and hear your friends in there.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that.
Nice. I am conscious on time, but I do want to ask one more question, because it's another feature that I really love about the game, and I think it's in beta at the moment, but I love the inclusion of Goldie in your tracks, and which is obviously Ashley, right? Well, I love the fact that, we talked about this at the start of the pod where, other rhythm games, or even your game to a certain extent, it's like you maybe could stand there and maybe make some movements and such. And this with Goldie in there, so you're seeing the silhouette of yourself, Ashley, like dancing in front of you. It kind of encourages you to make more of those movements that maybe you wouldn't really be comfortable or think about yourself. So I love the idea of that, because I definitely stood there just waving my arms like I would do in other rhythm games when I first played this, and then having Goldie there, it's like, okay, I'm getting into it and such, and kind of replicating your moves.
So there's a whole story there. That when we first started demoing the game in public, we noticed that people, like you said, were just kind of like tentative and didn't really know what to do, and it wasn't coming through as dancey for them. And so what we did is we would have Ashley play first. So there'd be like a line of people waiting to play. She would play first, and they would see her.
They would emulate.
Dance. Yeah. And then from then on, every person who went next was much more dancey in their movements.
Yeah.
And even people who then joined the line later who hadn't seen Ashley saw the people dancing ahead of them. So it just transmitted and kind of was a self-sustaining thing. And we were like, okay, we need to somehow get you into the game for people to see that and have that same effect. So we licensed a mocap solution, this software, and it was subscription based. And right after we got our subscription to it, it was sold to Apple. I guess Apple acquired the company. And when they did, they shut down the whole operation. So I guess they took everything internal, and they weren't allowing renewals of any subscriptions. And it was the only software we found that really did a good job with the capture. And that left us with no really good mocap solution. So we only had animations recorded for certain songs. And
even then, like I've loved her, and she's been really successful for the people that actually use her. We've even heard people say like, "Oh, I don't even look at the gems; I just follow Goldie." What? That's insane. Because I mean, I know the choreography, but every now and then, like I make a mistake. So you're just really gonna actually do exactly what I'm doing. You may not get a perfect score,
but it helps a lot. Like because like was it Sophie Needs a Ladder or something like that?
Satisfaction, right?
Oh, Satisfaction. So Ashley did this like standing sideways kind of like.
It was just like that.
What was the
movie? Satisfaction is like real sassy, you know. So it was like kind of like like that. You're kind of going to the side.
It's like standing sideways and like really sassy, you know. And and when you're not looking at Goldie, you're just looking for it. You're just kind of like going like this, you know. But then when you see Goldie do it, you're like, oh, and so you like just turn yourself to the side and you suddenly, ooh, this feels totally different. And that was like a really good example of how Goldie can inform you in a way that the gameplay elements can't, because we're not even tracking your hips. There's no way for us to track which way your chest is facing, because you're still looking with your head.
Yeah, she's intended to inspire and kind of be like this spirit of the energy and the fun and the playfulness and everything. So you don't have to exactly do what she does.
But we are now in the process of working out a motion capture solution, and that is also on our roadmap to finally get her back in all of the songs. And we're really excited about that, because I think that's going to be
fingers crossed that a big corporation doesn't buy that mocap.
I know, seriously.
I know.
Yeah.
I really want to resurrect her, and then when we finally do, I'm going to just be mocapping for quite a while. We have like 120 choreographies now. I need a mocap.
It's going to be great, though.
Not mocapped yet.
It's going to be great. Even using like Goldie just to like when you start your first song in Audio Trip for the day, and just to get you in that mood or get you in that rhythm and such. Sometimes even if you are like properly dancing and everything, you sort of forget that when you do your first song for the day or something like that. It takes you a little bit to get into, and Goldie's perfect for that. But yeah, I mean, Ashley, Brady, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so glad that we finally made this happen. I mean, there's so many more features in Audio Trip that we could talk about, to be honest. This game is, I think some people may, when they shy about it, they're, I've probably got Beat Saber, I don't need another like rhythm or dance game. It's so different. These games can like exist. Like I feel like Beat Saber's on one side of the spectrum, Audio Trip's on the other side, and maybe Synth Riders maybe fits in between, but they kind of all can coexist. And I love the different uniqueness that you have in this game, and it really sets it apart for me as like one of the best ones in VR. So kudos to what you've done, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen in 2025 and beyond as well. And that was not an above and beyond pun. I didn't meant to make that happen. But thanks so much. And where can people find you? Do you want to plug some of your socials and such?
Audio Trip VR is on all platforms, Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and you can find us on Meta Quest.
And your Discord's really active as well. There's a really good community in your Discord. So I think a lot of people should join the Discord if they're playing Audio Trip for sure.
Yeah, I think our Discord is linked in our socials. So you can find it there.
We'll have the links below.
Find us just doing more. We're going to just keep working on it.
Yeah. I still can't believe it's, I mean, there's 3 of you now as your like main team, right? But it's crazy how it was just you two to do the whole thing. But I just want to say thanks to everyone listening and watching the show. Remember, we have actually 3 codes for the Above and Beyond DLC 2 giveaway. So as mentioned in the podcast earlier, like just leave a comment on YouTube, Spotify, or via our Discord on the giveaways channel, and we'll randomly select you before next week's episode as well. So thank you so much for providing those codes. And that's it. I've been Dan, he's been Samson, Ashley and Brady from Audio Trip, and that's the end of our podcast. So we'll see you next week.